There are four great territories over which a man must learn to rule if he wishes to claim mastery over his life. They are his day, his decisions, his desires, and his dollars. Any man who fails to govern these domains is living in a form of slavery, no matter how much he pretends to be free. Every sunrise presents a private election in which you must choose whether you will take command of your hours or surrender them to distraction, disorder, and the demands of others. Most men, without even realizing it, vote against themselves. They open their eyes, drift through the morning, and allow the world to dictate the shape of their day. That is not living. That is being lived. You cannot become wealthy in any sense, financially, mentally, spiritually, without first learning to dominate your day. This is the foundation of all achievement, for your day is the smallest complete unit of your life. To waste it is to waste your life in installments. The man who learns to win each day eventually wins his years, and the man who wins his years ultimately wins his life. The first key to this daily domination is clarity of purpose. You cannot govern what you have not clearly defined. If you rise each morning without a definite aim, you are like a ship without a rudder, vulnerable to every passing current. The world will always provide you with distractions, obligations, and urgencies that feel important but lead nowhere. Do not begin your day until you have decided exactly what must be done for that day to be counted as a victory. This requires thought, not habit. You must separate the essential from the trivial, the urgent from the important, the necessary from the convenient. If you allow convenience to decide for you, your day will be dominated by ease instead of progress. The most effective way to secure this clarity is to prepare your day the night before. This is a practice I have observed in every man I have known who exercises complete command over his life. Before retiring for the evening, review the day that has passed, extract its lessons, and decide upon the precise tasks that will define success tomorrow. When you wake, there must be no doubt as to your first move. Many men lose the first hour of the day to indecision, sluggishness, and aimless activity. They check the news, wander through their thoughts, and gradually hand control of their time to outside influences. You must guard the first hour as the most valuable real estate of your life. Once you have mastered the structure of your day, you must turn your attention to mastering your decisions. This is the second domain. Every decision is a doorway, and each doorway leads you either closer to your definite chief aim or farther from it. The average man treats his decisions as casual matters, unaware that his entire destiny is determined by the sum of these seemingly small choices. Strong men decide quickly when they have enough information, and they change those decisions slowly, if at all. Weak men delay decisions until events or other people make them by default. This delay is often disguised as thinking it over or waiting for the right time, but in reality it is fear in disguise. Fear of responsibility, fear of commitment, fear of the possibility that their decision will require more effort than they are willing to give. You cannot afford such fear if you wish to dominate. Indecision corrodes the will, drains energy, and breeds dependency on the opinions of others. Each time you fail to decide, you reinforce the habit of hesitation. Each time you decide promptly and act upon that decision, you strengthen the muscle of certainty. The cure for hesitation is a definite standard by which all decisions are measured. This standard must be your clearly defined purpose. If a decision moves you toward your goal, it deserves your attention. If it does not, it deserves your refusal. This single filter will eliminate half the noise from your life and sharpen your ability to act with conviction. Decisiveness also requires that you measure the cost of every yes. To say yes to one thing is to say no to another. If the man who accepts every offer wonders why he has no time, the answer lies in his inability to guard his focus. The no you give to an unworthy distraction is not a rejection. It is an investment in your true priorities. From the mastery of your decisions springs the mastery of your desire. This is the third domain and perhaps the most challenging. Desire is the fire that drives all human action. But like fire, it can warm your home or burn it to the ground depending on how it is controlled. Most men live with desires they have never chosen. They want what the world tells them to want: status symbols, shallow pleasures, the approval of strangers. Their goals are hand-me-downs passed to them by the crowd, and they never stop to examine whether these goals are worthy of their life's labor. Domination of desire requires a turning inward. You must ask. If all eyes were removed, all applause silenced, and all comparisons erased, what would I still want? Which aims are so deeply mine that I would pursue them in private if necessary? These are the desires that deserve your life's work. Once identified, these desires must be made definite. Vague desire produces vague results. You must write your aims in clear, measurable terms, with deadlines and the price you are willing to pay. That price is always paid in advance, in the form of discipline, sacrifice, and patience. Desire must also be protected from the temptation of immediate gratification. The man who cannot delay his reward is a slave to impulse. He trades the greater future for the lesser present, and in doing so remains in the class of men who will forever live at the mercy of circumstance. The man who can deny himself a small pleasure today for the sake of a larger gain tomorrow is the man who can be trusted with power and wealth. Self-control over desire extends beyond material wants. It includes control over your mental attention. What you choose to dwell upon, you feed. If you continually dwell on lack, limitation, and what you do not have, you feed those very conditions. If you fix your mind on possibility, abundance, and action, you feed those. You cannot dominate your desires without first dominating your thoughts. Finally, we come to the fourth domain, your dollars. This is the territory in which many men lose their freedom without ever recognizing it. Money is a form of power, but only to the man who commands it. The man who is commanded by money, or more precisely by the lack of it, is never free to choose his life entirely. To dominate your dollars, you must first understand them. Keep an exact record of every dollar you earn and every dollar you spend. You may think this tedious, but I assure you it will awaken you to patterns of waste and opportunity that have been invisible to you. What you measure, you can control. What you ignore controls you. The order in which you direct your money matters. Invest first in yourself, your skills, your knowledge, your ability to produce greater value. Then invest in opportunities that multiply your capital. Then, and only then, allow for lifestyle expenses. Most men invert this order. They spend first, save a little if anything remains, and invest almost never. This is why they live in financial dependence until their last day. Avoid debt for any purpose that does not produce income. The burden of paying for yesterday's indulgences with tomorrow's labor is one of the surest ways to weaken your future. If you must borrow, do so with a specific productive purpose and a clear, swift plan to repay. Every dollar is a worker. Put it where it can bring you more workers. Dollars left idle lose their value to inflation, and dollars wasted on vanity or fleeting pleasure are soldiers sent to the wrong battlefield. They will not return. When you master your day, your decisions, your desires, and your dollars, you possess the keys to personal sovereignty. Each supports the other. Control over your day sharpens your decisions. Wise decisions focus your desires. Focused desires guide your use of dollars. Controlled dollars buy you more time to dominate your days. But understand this. Domination is not an act of force against the world. It is an act of discipline over yourself. The world cannot be fully commanded, but yourself you can rule without limit. And when you have done so, the world will yield to you far more than it yields to the man who seeks to control everything but himself. This is the beginning of mastery. The greatest obstacle you will face in mastering these 4 domains is not the world, but your own resistance. The mind rebels against discipline, for discipline is a direct challenge to its preference for ease, novelty, and comfort. This is why most men fail not because they do not know what to do, but because they are unwilling to keep doing it long enough to see its power. It is one thing to take command of your day once, to make a decisive choice once, to focus your desire once, to save your dollars once. It is another thing entirely to repeat these acts every day until they become your nature. The true victory is not in the act itself, but in the transformation it produces in you. Consider your day again. If you control it today, you have proven you can control it once. But if tomorrow you allow distraction to creep in, your mastery was temporary. A man who wins occasionally is still a servant to chance. The man who wins habitually has turned mastery into a way of life. To reach this level, you must create systems that make the desired behavior inevitable. Relying solely on willpower is a poor strategy, for willpower is strongest in the morning and weakest at night. Structure your environment so that it supports the actions you want to take. Remove temptations that lead you astray. Arrange your tools and resources so that they invite productive use. If you intend to dominate your morning, place your plan for the day where you will see it immediately upon waking. Keep your phone in another room while you work on your most important task. If you intend to save money, make it automatic. Have a portion of your income transferred to savings before you ever see it. A system once built removes decision fatigue. You are no longer deciding each day whether you will act. You have already decided, and the system carries you forward. This is the hidden advantage of men who seem naturally disciplined. They have built lives that make discipline the default, not the exception. In the matter of decisions, consistency is forged by learning to trust yourself. Many men hesitate because they are haunted by the possibility of making the wrong choice. They imagine that one wrong step will ruin them. This is rarely true. Inaction ruins far more men than imperfect action ever has. When you decide quickly and act, you gain feedback. You discover sooner whether your choice was wise, and if it was not, you have time to adjust. A wrong decision followed by swift correction will often lead to a better outcome than endless hesitation followed by a choice made too late. Trust grows from experience. Each time you follow your own judgment, you are training yourself to act with confidence. And even when your decision produces an unexpected result, you have still strengthened your independence. The man who can stand by his own choices, learn from them, and adjust accordingly is a man the world cannot easily sway. Desire, too, must be made consistent. You will find that your desires fluctuate. One day you are aflame with ambition, the next you are tempted to settle for comfort. This is because desire left to emotion will rise and fall with your mood. To keep it steady, you must anchor it in reason. Remind yourself daily why your aim matters. This is not idle repetition. It is the deliberate feeding of the mind with the images and emotions that keep it aligned with your chief aim. A desire revisited daily becomes ingrained. and the mind begins to seek ways to fulfill it even when you are not consciously thinking about it. Create visible reminders of your aim. Write it down and place it where you will see it often. Speak it aloud each morning and night. Associate it with strong emotions, for the mind remembers what it feels more than what it merely hears. In this way, you transform desire from a passing feeling into a constant force. When it comes to dollars, consistency is perhaps the most difficult virtue to maintain. Many men save diligently for a few months, then undo all their progress with one season of indulgence. Others invest with patience, but when results are slower than expected, they abandon their strategy and chase the latest scheme. You must commit to a long-term view. Wealth is not built in a season. It is built in cycles, through persistence and patience. The man who expects his dollars to multiply instantly is like a farmer who plants today and demands a harvest tomorrow. The soil does not obey impatience, and neither does the law of compounding. Make saving and investing as automatic as breathing. Whether your income rises or falls, keep your percentage of saving constant. When windfalls come, resist the urge to inflate your lifestyle. Instead, put those extra resources to work so they can produce more for you in the future. Guard yourself against the seduction of appearances. Many men sabotage their financial sovereignty by trying to appear wealthier than they are. They buy symbols of success instead of building the substance of it. The car that empties your account to impress a neighbor does nothing to increase your freedom. Remember that true wealth is the ability to choose how you spend your time. It is the quiet confidence of knowing you are not dependent on the next paycheck to survive. It is the strength to walk away from a deal or a relationship that compromises your values because you do not need it to live. This kind of wealth is invisible to those who seek validation, but it is the only kind worth pursuing. To maintain consistency in all 4 domains, you must learn to recover quickly from failure. You will stumble. You will miss a day, make a poor decision, indulge a fleeting desire, or waste money on something unworthy. This does not end your progress unless you decide it does. Failure only becomes permanent when you let it harden into identity. If you tell yourself, I am the kind of man who can't stay disciplined, you will live that story. Instead, tell yourself, I have made an error, and now I return to my standard. In this way, failure becomes a moment, not a habit. The discipline to return after a setback is one of the rarest qualities in life, and it is one of the surest signs that a man will ultimately dominate. Most men quit not because they cannot win, but because they refuse to begin again after losing once. Another truth you must accept is that domination requires sacrifice. You cannot have every pleasure, every comfort, and every convenience while also ruling your day, decisions, desires, and dollars. Something must be given up. You may have to give up the company of men who do not share your standards. You may have to give up late nights to guard your mornings. You may have to give up the thrill of impulse purchases to protect your financial power. These sacrifices are not losses, they are trades. You are trading the lesser for the greater. Those who live without discipline often pity the disciplined man, imagining his life is narrow and joyless. They do not see that his discipline has bought him freedoms they will never taste. The freedom to use his time as he chooses. The freedom to act without fear of lack. The freedom to follow his own desires instead of those imposed by the world. Your task, then, is not merely to act with discipline, but to become the kind of man for whom discipline is natural. This transformation occurs through repetition. Do the same small acts of mastery until they are as effortless as breathing. Rise at the same hour. Begin your work without delay. Review your aims. Guard your money. Refuse what does not serve your purpose. Over time, these acts will cease to feel like effort. They will feel like you. And once they are part of you, they will carry you forward with a momentum that requires little conscious thought. This is the stage at which you are no longer pushing the wheel uphill. It is rolling under its own power, and you are simply guiding it. But beware. The moment you take your mastery for granted, you invite decline. Every domain you rule must be maintained. The day you stop ruling your day, decisions, desires, and dollars is the day they begin to rule you. This law is constant and impartial. Therefore, build into your life regular moments of review. Ask yourself each week, am I in command of my hours, or have I allowed them to be stolen? Am I making decisions based on my purpose, or am I drifting? Are my desires still my own, or have they been hijacked by the crowd? Are my dollars working for me, or have I sent them away on foolish errands? These questions, asked and answered honestly, will keep you on the path of mastery. The man who examines himself regularly cannot be deceived for long, not by others and not by his own excuses. Domination, then, is not a single victory, but a constant state of vigilance. It is the daily act of standing guard at the gates of your own life. No one else will do it for you. And if you will not, the world will be more than happy to occupy that position and dictate your terms. Refuse that. Stand your post. Rule your day. Decide with purpose. Direct your desire and command your dollars. Make these acts so consistent that they become the unshakable structure of your life. Then, and only then, will you be in position to expand your rule into greater territories of influence and achievement. You will discover that domination is not only about force, it is also about clarity. The man who tries to control everything at once soon finds himself overwhelmed, scattered, and ineffective. But the man who identifies the few levers that move the most weight and focuses on them relentlessly becomes unstoppable. In mastering your day, this means knowing which hours are your most valuable and guarding them with the ferocity of a king protecting his throne. Not all hours are equal. There are certain windows when your mind is sharper, your will is stronger, and your energy is highest. These hours must be reserved for your most important work, the tasks that move you closer to your chief aim. If you spend your best hours on trivialities, you are trading diamonds for dust. This is why so many men work hard yet achieve little. They are busy but not effective. They pour their prime mental energy into answering meaningless messages, distractions of the world, and attending to other people's urgencies while neglecting their own priorities. To dominate your day, identify your prime hours and claim them. If you are strongest in the morning, your first work should be your most valuable work. If you come alive in the evening, do not waste that time on idle entertainment. Build your day around these power blocks, and you will accomplish more in them than most men do in an entire day. When it comes to decisions, clarity means knowing the principles by which you will decide before the choice arrives. Most men are unprepared when a difficult decision appears. They weigh pros and cons endlessly, consult everyone they know, and still end up paralyzed. The decisive man has already chosen his values, his standards, and his aim. He measures every choice against these, and the answer becomes clear. Ask yourself, what do I want most? What am I unwilling to compromise? What is my time worth? What are my long-term aims? These are not questions to answer in the heat of the moment. They must be decided in advance. Then, when the choice appears, you already have the compass that points the way. The advantage of such clarity is immense. Opportunities that are aligned with your aim stand out instantly. Distractions and temptations reveal themselves without effort. And because you are not spending your mental energy debating every possibility, you have more of it to invest in action. Clarity of desire is equally vital. Many men think they want wealth, success, or influence, but when asked why, their answers are vague. Without a clear why, desire is fragile. It withers under difficulty or is stolen by a passing whim. The man who knows precisely why he wants what he wants will endure long after others have surrendered. Your why must be strong enough to pull you forward when discipline feels like drudgery. It must be vivid enough that you can see it in your mind's eye as clearly as if it were already in your hands. And it must be personal enough that it stirs your deepest emotions. A borrowed desire will never survive the trials that stand between you and its fulfillment. When you have this kind of clarity, you will notice a new force at work in your life. Your mind will begin to filter out what is irrelevant and seek what is useful. Ideas, resources, and opportunities that were invisible before will suddenly appear. This is not magic. It is the natural result of directing the full power of your attention toward a single aim. Clarity with your dollars means knowing exactly what role you want money to play in your life. Do you want it to buy freedom, security, influence, or adventure? The answer matters because it determines how you will earn, spend, and invest. A man who sees money only as a means to comfort will treat it differently than a man who sees it as a tool for creating enterprises that outlive him. Once you decide the purpose of your money, you can align your financial strategy accordingly. If freedom is your aim, you will prioritize savings, investments, and low overhead. If influence is your aim, you may invest in relationships, visibility, and ventures that extend your reach. Without this clarity, your money will be pulled in every direction, and you will wonder why it never seems to accumulate. The habit of clarity leads naturally to the habit of saying no. Domination is as much about refusing the wrong as it is about choosing the right. Every yes to something unworthy is a no to something essential. You must become comfortable disappointing others when their requests do not align with your purpose. Many men fail here because they are more concerned with being liked than with being effective. They spread themselves thin trying to please everyone, and in doing so, they betray their own mission. A man who dominates his life does not apologize for protecting it. He understands that his time, energy, and money are finite resources, and he invests them only where the return is worthy. This selectivity is not selfishness. It is wisdom. The better you guard your resources, the more value you can create for those who matter most. You will also find that domination requires foresight. The man who lives only for the present moment may enjoy temporary pleasures, but he sacrifices the greater pleasures that come from long-term achievement. In your day, foresight means planning not only for today's work, but for the week, the month, and the year ahead. It means building routines that position you for future success rather than scrambling at the last minute. In your decisions, foresight means considering the second and third order consequences of your choices, not just the immediate result. In your desires, foresight means choosing aims that will still satisfy you years from now, not just in the moment of attainment. Many men work for years toward a goal, only to find that it was hollow when they arrive. This happens because they chose based on impulse, not foresight. In your dollars, foresight means investing in ways that will serve you in the future, even if they require patience now. It means resisting the urge to consume everything you earn, knowing that the seeds you plant today will multiply in the seasons to come. Foresight also gives you resilience. When you expect challenges, you are not surprised by them. You prepare for them, and when they arrive, you meet them with strength instead of shock. The man who is always surprised by adversity is a man who has failed to think far enough ahead. Alongside clarity and foresight, domination demands the mastery of emotion. A man can have the best plan in the world, but if he allows anger, fear, or despair to take the throne of his mind, his plan will crumble. To dominate your day, you must rule your mood. This does not mean suppressing emotion, it means directing it. Use your anger to fuel action against obstacles. Use your fear as a signal to prepare more thoroughly. Use your joy as a source of energy for the work ahead. But never let any single emotion cloud your reason or dictate your choices without examination. In decisions, emotional mastery means not being swayed by flattery, intimidation, or pressure. Many poor choices are made in moments of excitement or fear, when the mind is too clouded to see clearly. The decisive man waits until he can think calmly, even if that means delaying an answer. In desires, emotional mastery means not being seduced by every shiny new opportunity that crosses your path. It means holding fast to your chief aim, even when another path promises faster gratification. In dollars, it means resisting panic when markets fall and greed when they rise, staying true to your strategy regardless of temporary swings. The combination of clarity, foresight, and emotional mastery creates a mind that cannot be easily manipulated. And this is the kind of mind that dominates not only its own life, but also exerts quiet influence over the lives of others. People trust the man who is steady, clear, and consistent, for he becomes a rare anchor in a world of drift. As you strengthen these qualities, you will notice another transformation. You will begin to value depth over breadth. You will prefer fewer hours of deep work to many hours of shallow activity. You will prefer fewer strong relationships to many weak ones. You will prefer fewer investments you understand well to many you barely comprehend. This depth is what allows you to achieve more with less effort. It is the opposite of the scattershot approach that drains energy and yields little. Depth requires saying no to almost everything so you can say yes to the few things that truly matter. And here is the paradox. By narrowing your focus, you expand your power. Just as the sun's light can be intensified into a beam strong enough to cut steel, so your efforts, when concentrated, can produce results far beyond what you thought possible. Domination is not about doing more. It is about doing less, better, and with greater intensity. It is about identifying the small set of actions, decisions, and investments that create the majority of your results, and giving them your best hours, your full attention, and your consistent energy. When you live this way, the four domains, your day, decisions, desires, and dollars, become interconnected in a powerful cycle. Mastery in one strengthens the others. Clear desires make decision-making easier. Wise decisions protect your dollar. Well-managed dollars buy you more control over your day, and a well-structured day gives you the time and focus to clarify your desires further. This cycle, once established, becomes self-reinforcing. You are no longer battling chaos in every direction. You have built a fortress from which you can advance with purpose, striking only where it matters most. This is the life of a man who dominates, not by chance, not by bursts of effort, but by steady, intelligent, deliberate command of himself and his resources. And once you have tasted this way of living, you will wonder how you ever tolerated the scattered, reactive existence that most men accept without question. The final level of domination is the mastery of momentum. You may have clarity, foresight, and emotional mastery, but without sustained momentum, even the best plans will wither. Momentum is the invisible force that makes action easier over time, turning discipline into habit and habit into instinct. In the beginning, momentum is fragile. It must be protected fiercely. Distractions, discouragement, and delays can easily shatter it. This is why the first step in building momentum is to lower the threshold for beginning Do not demand perfection at the start. Demand progress. A single deliberate action each day, repeated without fail, will soon grow into a force you can rely on. Once momentum is established, the key is consistency. Many men work intensely for a short period, then vanish into inactivity, losing all they have gained. They treat success like a sprint instead of a marathon. But domination belongs to the man who can advance steadily, day after day, year after year, without losing faith in the process. To dominate your day, momentum comes from a reliable morning ritual. This is not a collection of random habits copied from others. It is a deliberate sequence designed to place you in command from the moment you wake. Perhaps it includes reviewing your chief aim, planning your priorities, strengthening your body, and clearing your mind. The content matters less than the fact that you execute it without negotiation. Momentum in decisions comes from trusting your framework. Once you have clarified your principles and proven them through action, do not second-guess them at every turn. Trust that your chosen compass will guide you well and act without delay. Each decisive action builds your confidence, which in turn makes future decisions easier. In desires, momentum grows when you see tangible progress toward your aim. This is why it is wise to break large ambitions into measurable milestones. Every time you achieve one, you reinforce your belief that the larger goal is inevitable. This belief is a powerful fuel that keeps you moving forward even when obstacles appear. Momentum in dollars comes from the compounding effect of disciplined action. Saving and investing are rarely exciting in the early stages. The growth is slow, almost invisible. But as months turn to years, the compounding becomes undeniable. The man who stays consistent through the dull beginnings will one day watch his wealth grow faster than he can spend it. The danger is in underestimating how fragile momentum remains, even after years of progress. One lapse in discipline, if repeated, can undo months of effort. This is why a man who dominates his life never grows complacent. He respects the force of momentum enough to guard it as one of his most valuable assets. Guarding momentum requires vigilance. You must monitor your environment, your habits, and your associations for anything that threatens your rhythm. A single toxic relationship, a distracting habit, or a loss of purpose can sap the energy you have built. This is where the principle of subtraction becomes powerful. Domination is not only about adding more, it is about removing what weakens you. Remove the commitments that do not serve your aim. Remove the habits that drain your energy. Remove the voices that sow doubt in your mind. Each removal strengthens your momentum because it reduces the friction against your progress. The man who has mastered momentum begins to operate on a different plane from the average man. What feels difficult for others becomes effortless for him, not because the work has changed, but because he has conditioned himself to move forward without hesitation. This is why outsiders often misinterpret his success as luck. They cannot see the years of unbroken action that made it possible. To reach this level, you must also master the balance between intensity and recovery. Even the strongest momentum can be broken by burnout. Domination is not about exhausting yourself, it is about sustaining yourself. You must recognize when to push and when to replenish. Your day must contain periods of deep focus and periods of rest. Your decisions must be made with a clear mind, not a fatigued one. Your desires must be pursued with enthusiasm, not desperation. Your dollars must be managed with long-term patience, not short-term frenzy. Recovery is not weakness, it is strategy. Just as a warrior sharpens his sword before battle, you must sharpen your body and mind before each phase of effort. This is why the man who dominates his life values sleep, nourishment, reflection, and renewal. They are not luxuries, they are the fuel of sustained performance. Another pillar of sustained momentum is adaptability. The world will not remain still for you. Circumstances will change, markets will shift, and unforeseen events will arrive without warning. A rigid plan may break under such pressure, but a flexible strategy will bend and recover. To dominate your day, you must be willing to adjust your schedule when life demands it without losing sight of your priorities. To dominate decisions, you must be willing to re-examine your assumptions in light of new evidence. To dominate desires, you must be willing to refine your aim as you grow and learn. And to dominate dollars, you must be willing to shift your methods while remaining true to your financial purpose. Adaptability ensures that momentum is not tied to a single path. It is tied to your overall mission. This means that when one door closes, you are already scanning for the next opening, ready to continue forward without losing speed. Now we arrive at the most powerful truth about domination. It is not something you do to the world, it is something you do to yourself. A man who dominates his own thoughts, emotions, habits, and resources will naturally dominate his circumstances. The world is filled with men trying to impose control outwardly while remaining in chaos inwardly. Their efforts are always temporary because they have not built the foundation of self-command. Domination begins with the discipline of thought. Your mind is your command center. Every action you take, every decision you make, every dollar you earn or spend begins as a thought. If you allow your mind to be invaded by fear, doubt, or confusion, the battle is lost before it begins. You must therefore cultivate mental habits that strengthen you. Focus on possibilities, not limitations. Seek solutions, not excuses. Direct your attention toward what you can control and let the rest go. These are not merely positive thinking slogans. They are strategic disciplines for maintaining control under pressure. Emotional discipline follows naturally from mental discipline. Once you learn to direct your thoughts, you can direct your feelings. And once you can direct your feelings, you can act with consistency regardless of the storms around you. This steadiness is the hallmark of the man who dominates. He is unshaken when others panic, deliberate when others rush, calm when others rage. Habit discipline is the final link in the chain. Your life is a reflection of what you repeatedly do. The habits that dominate your day will determine your destiny. This is why you must design them intentionally. Every habit should either serve your purpose directly or strengthen your capacity to pursue it. Anything else must be discarded. Financial discipline is the proof of all other disciplines. Money flows toward order and away from chaos. The man who dominates his dollars is never at the mercy of circumstance. He decides how his wealth will be earned, where it will be placed, and how it will grow. This control gives him the power to act when others are paralyzed, to invest when others retreat, and to build when others are waiting for permission. As your mastery in these areas grows, you will notice something profound. Domination is not about controlling more, it is about needing less control from the outside. When you have internal command, you do not depend on favorable conditions to advance. You can operate effectively in disorder because your order is internal. This is the ultimate freedom. A man who must have everything just right before he can act will always be a servant to circumstance. But a man who can act decisively in any condition will eventually bend circumstance to his will. To dominate your day, your decisions, your desires, and your dollars is to remove the greatest barriers to achievement. It is to move through life with the quiet certainty that you are capable of handling whatever comes because you have built the habits, the mindset, and the momentum that make success inevitable. From this position, wealth, influence, and fulfillment are no longer distant hopes. They are the natural byproducts of how you live each day. And this is the true aim of domination. Not to grasp at results, but to shape yourself into the kind of man for whom those results are the only possible outcome. If you live by these principles, you will wake each day with purpose, act each day with power, and rest each night with peace. You will no longer measure success only by what you have, but by who you have become in the process. And when you look back, you will see that domination was never about the conquest of others. It was about the mastery of yourself. For the man who achieves that, there is nothing left to fear and everything left to gain.